Hello and welcome to today's session where we're going to be looking at accessibility and differentiation tools that can be used to support blended learning in G Suite. I'm so pleased that people have been able to get along today and join us. Really looking forward to the session. So I've just kind of dropped in the chat there, say hello, share your Twitter handle and also your favorite holiday destination, because we were just kind of backstage there having a chat about what our kind of end of term summer holiday plans were going to be. And I guess, maybe this year people aren't getting to go where they want to go. So being able to, wish where we could be going would be quite nice. So nice to see Stuart's joined us and he would like to go to Western Australia. Annabel, she'd like to head to Venice. The Cape of Good Hope. Thank you, Dr. McGregor, lovely to see you. Cape Verde, what a selection there from Laura Grant. I myself would really like to go to a little place called Bovec, which is in Slovenia. Beautiful little town just on the banks of the River Socha, and such a lovely, warm place to be. Oh, nice to see we've got someone joining us from Straven. Is that your favourite holiday destination as well? I don't know. Anyway, today's presentation and inputs are going to be looking at accessibility and differentiation tools. And just to kind of kick off where we're going to, how we're going to run through today. So I'm going to start us off by looking at just some kind of tools and some kind of overarching thoughts about differentiation and accessibility and how they're absolutely essential to ensuring that we've got young people engaging with learning. Then we're going to have Laura Grant, who's going to be talking to us. And Laura Grant is teacher of English at Lark Hall Academy, but also principal teacher of literacy, and is going to look at just some of the Google Classroom and Google Docs tools that are useful in terms of kind of understanding how we can assign different work to different children and some of the features within Classroom available, and then having a bit of a closer look in terms of in Docs. There's a feature to kind of be able to see revision history and just kind of understand if you've been placing assignments up and you're expecting different amount of work from different learners. You can have people with different abilities working on the same document, and using the revision history, you can identify who's been a contributor to what part of the work. And, while Laura's going to focus in on Google Docs, across all of the G Suite products there, be it, Google Sheets or Google Slides, that's a really useful tool for kind of analysing, understanding who's done what. And so that's going to be really interesting. Annabel Roger is a class teacher and the ICT coordinator at Tinto Primary School. She was on a couple of weeks ago talking about the digital transformation journey that Tinto Primary School have been through. And, that's absolutely, amazing journey, and, really interesting to see how digital technology has changed what they're doing. So voice typing in Google Docs, Annabelle is going to talk to us about, but also using some of the baked-in functionality in the Google Chromebook. So there's a dictation feature, which then, allows for kind of much more, interaction and accessibility. So it'll be really lovely to see how that works in practice. Mark Allen, principal teacher at Newton Farm Primary. He was previously in the Lark Hall learning community when he was at Stonehouse, and moved on during the start of the session that's just ending here. Really looking forward to seeing Mark's tips in terms of making use of being able to highlight the mouse cursor and being able to kind of really get in and adjust the features there. And I think some of that will be useful for learners, and some of that will be useful for teachers who are making videos to support learners in terms of when you're kind of doing demonstrations and things. So that's super exciting. Karen is, of course, our digital support officer at South Lanarkshire Council, working within education resources. And one of the tools that I've seen her make really good use of is closed captions feature, which just helps those who are maybe hearing impaired and just need some assistance, or if you kind of struggle with focus and you're working in an environment where you can't necessarily have the volume up, so being able to kind of keep on top of what's happening by reading along on the screen is really good. And then to conclude today's session, we've got Richie Lambert, who's going to look at differentiation through Google Forms. And that is going to be a really interesting input, looking at how we can use branching forms. So as we progress through, depending on the answers that children give, we'll be able to pick up different different routes of different types of questions. So we can really start to personalize, individualize, and differentiate the experience for learners. So I think, there's lots of opportunities there to kind of be able to identify what maybe needs retaught, or identify what changes that need to be made. So yeah, really exciting plan. So first of all, a little bit for me then, accessibility and differentiation, using these tools is so important, because if we get the tools right and we get the structures in place that will allow us to support blended learning, if we can make the blended learning accessible wherever the child is learning, that is going to really improve their learning experience. And I think the onus is definitely on us as teachers to do that. One thing I should have said is, if you're joined us, and you can comment on the chat, if you've got questions that you want to ask, pop the questions in as you go, and we'll be able to do a little bit of Q&A with the presenters as we go along. So I guess my first thought is well, we're using accessibility and we're using differentiation to be able to create transcendent experiences for young people. So these are learning experiences that go above and beyond what would be normally possible for a young person. And I think the use of digital technology allows us to kind of bring in augmented reality, if we were going to be really bold with our use, or it allows us to make a text document accessible to a child who otherwise couldn't access it. So when we're talking about doing things above and beyond what they can normally do, we've got to very much look at that in terms of the context of what we're hoping them to do. So when I think, kind of back through history, and I think, kind of our development of technology, the technology has always come out of innovation. So, initially there was a typewriter, or we put books on tapes, or we've got closed captions. Now we've got voice-enabled TVs. We've got voice-enabled controls in our house, so we can turn our lights on and off. All of these pieces of technology have come out of somebody having an accessibility problem. They haven't been able to access, or they haven't been able to use to its full a piece of technology. So someone's kind of identified that problem, and then they've gone away and they've found a solution to it. And then that solution isn't just something that is specific to people who have accessibility issues. It's something that then becomes available to all. So quite often you might find a universal, a targeted support that you create then becomes a universal support for all, because actually it makes everybody's lives better, or it makes everybody's lives easier, or it makes their learning experience more powerful. So, what are we trying to do when we're, using accessibility tools or differentiate? Well, we're trying to make the learning experience work for every learner. So I think one of the big kind of tools that we have that sit behind this is the power of G Suite. So hopefully Google Classroom is a virtual learning environment that everyone is kind of starting to get to grips with now. And, within Google Classroom, there are tools built in that allow you to differentiate work to different groups of learners, and we'll see how that works from Laura Grant shortly. But we've also got the support of all the other G Suite products that sit behind or sit alongside Google Classroom. So, Docs, Slides, Meet, Forms, Jamboard, and each of these products has their own set of accessibility tools built into them, or they have the power for you to be able to differentiate and set particular tasks to particular individuals at a level that's suitable for them. So the only way you get better at differentiating, and the only way you get better at making accessibility fit within your pedagogy, is by taking tools and using them. And if you leave this session today and you just take one tool away and you go, I'm going to commit myself to making one change to make something more accessible or to differentiate a task, then that has been a real success. And when you start making the inroads and you start making the change to your practice, you'll quite quickly find that actually lots of practice change becomes embedded. So there's lots of tools within G Suite, but there's also some third-party tools that sit on top of the Google for Education suite of products, for instance, Text Help, Read and Write. Both of these tools are available for everybody in South Lanarkshire, and the Text Help, Read and Write software offers support with kind of everyday tasks like reading text out loud, understanding unfamiliar words, helping with research on assignments, or proofreading written work. And I think for those who maybe have literacy barriers in their learning, using that tool is absolutely going to help them. But yes, as teachers, we're going to need to do some learning. So there is on the South Lanarkshire Council Staff Learning Centre some support videos about that. But we're then also going to need to give some training to our learners to be able to help them make full use of the tools. There's also Equatio from Text Help, which allows you to easily create mathematical equations, formulas, quizzes, and it allows you to kind of either type or write those quite complicated, tricky maths codes in that everyone's not quite sure how to draw the symbol. Well, it will help. It will help pick it up for you. So I think that is something that's really exciting, and it's certainly there. Across South Lanarkshire Council, the mobile device that is provided to schools is, of course, the Chromebook. Now, there are lots of accessibility features built into the Chromebook, and our presenters today will show you how to use them, but I thought I would just give you some advice on how you access them. So at the bottom of your screen, if you click on the time, if you're on a Chromebook, or you can press Alt-Shift-S, and effectively the status box pops up, and within that you have the option to be able to select accessibility. And then when you go into accessibility, you've got select to speech, dictation, high contrast mode, large mouse cursor, lots of different resources available to help make the Chromebook work for you. So you very much need to work out how you want to personalize that experience for you. So get stuck in with them. If you can't see accessibility when you pop up on that section, just head into the settings, and the settings search bar, just type in accessibility, and hopefully you'll be able to find them there. So little bit then about I've learned some new accessibility features. That's great. Well, what do I want to do next? Well, I want to share what I'm doing, say on Twitter, for example. So there's a hashtag A11Y, so that is the accessibility hashtag, because obviously accessibility is a long word. So character limit obviously on Twitter is a little bit smaller. So hashtag A11Y, and you'll see lots of things that other people are doing, and you'll also be able to see what I think is really exciting, the ability to be able to share what you're doing. And differentiation doesn't have its own kind of special hashtag like accessibility, just hashtag differentiation. I wonder though if we should create one to really build the profile of differentiation and be able to share what we do. So I think let's start looking at some of our accessibility and differentiation tools then to support blended learning. Up first, we've got Laura Grant. So I will bring Laura in. Hello, Laura. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Ian, Good. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well. Lovely to see you today. Thanks very much for joining us. So Laura's going to look at some bits in Google Classroom, and then is it over to Google Docs that you're heading?
It's still in Google Classroom, but yeah, on a doc that's been submitted.
Great, that would be exciting. So shall I bring your screen in then, and
yes.
The stage will be all yours. There you are.
Thank you very much. So as Ian said, I'll be talking to you a little bit today about differentiation, so assigning different tasks to different pupils in the classroom, and then on to seeing who has done what in group work. And again, everything will be done through the demo classroom here. So I've already set up some drafts here. So this is how you would set different work for different pupils in the same Google Classroom, so you don't have to have different classrooms for everyone. The good thing about this is that the pupils only see the work that you have posted to them, and they don't see that it's only being posted to them as well. So to them it would look as if everyone is doing the same kind of work. So you go through the normal process of setting up your assignment or your task that you want the pupils to do. You would attach it as normal, and then over here where it says all students, you click that drop down, unclick all students, and then select the pupils that you want that task to go to. Then obviously just fill in everything else there, and when you assign it, it only goes to those pupils. Yep, you want them to see it straight away. And what you would then do, obviously if you've got level 3 or whatever your other levels are, would be do the same thing. So set up your assignment, do the same just for the different pupils, and that way they would see it like that. To them, they don't see the two students, they just see what's been assigned. You would see both of them once you've posted both of them. That was very simple. I don't think I'll take up my entire 7 minutes, which will be great because I see we're a wee bit behind. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about differentiation, and Ian asked me to do a little bit about it yesterday, but I don't do it the same way it's done in other subjects, and that is using rubric. Again, for me, I use this for writing. So in an English classroom, you might have 2 or 3 different levels within there. And rather than, they're all doing the same task, but they might have different success criteria. What you could do, again, you're creating your assignment as normal. And down here, you'll have a wee bit that says rubric, and you click on there, and you're given the option to have it pointed. I don't use it pointed, but when you do that, is that if they hit this criteria, they get 1 point. If they do that plus the second criteria, they get 2 points, and so on and so forth. This is sent to the pupils. Obviously, I've just taken these straight from the Education Scotland benchmarks. You can have it as whatever you want. So for the level 2 pupils, and they should be aware what level they're at, you would have your criteria there. Your level 3 pupils, they would have their criteria there. And then you would just post it, and that gets sent out with the pupils, and you can ask them, if you've not put the success criteria in the task, you just ask them to go back and have a look. I'm just assigning that there. Yeah, so that should hopefully post if it's not too slow. And you can see there, that's how it looks. The pupils just click on there, and that's what they would see, so they know exactly what they need to do. The next thing I'm going to talk about is group work and assigning group work. So what I did, I just created an assignment. So I've told my pupils who's in what group, and I can see here that 1 pupil has handed in the work. Even though all of these pupils have all worked on the same document, they've all just submitted the one through the main one there. Anyone that knows me right now will know that I am obsessed with ancient Greek mythology right now. But this is the work they've done. Now, if you leave it here, you won't be able to see who has done what. So you need to make sure you're opening it. And you do that just by clicking the pop-out button there. So it opens in Google Docs. Now, this bit here, the last edit, will show up on Docs.
Hi, Laura.
Yeah.
It's noticed.
It's not shared that screen, has it?
We can still only see one screen. So I'll take the screen out, and you can stop sharing and reshare it. I was delighted actually to be able to see that I had handed my work in there on time, and
you're not going to be delighted when you see what you've not done.
Oh, okay. So I might be getting a bit of a round then, but I noticed that Karen McLeod's work was missing.
Well, actually, Karen has done most of the work on it anyway. 2 seconds, sorry.
For doing most of the work. That's good. I was going to say you're normally very studious, so that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got you in now. There it is.
Perfect. Yeah. So it would open up in Docs, and what I was just saying there, that bit there at the top where it says last edit, that will show up in Docs, Slides, any of the G Suite that you think pupils will be able to see. If you click on here, it brings up a little panel like this. So you can see the different colours have been assigned to different pupils. So purple, Demo 1, orange, Karen McLeod pupil, and Ian Vosser pupil is in green there. To see who's done what, you click on the wee arrow to expand, and you can see. So the latest is up here. So you want to go right back to the start. So someone decided they were going to do this, and they added a little bit in from Wikipedia, changed the font, and then Karen went, no, we're not doing that, we're going to do Achilles. Then you get pupils complaining, they've copied over me. This is when you'll be able to see who's deleted what, who's copied over stuff, and you can end arguments, and you can see who's done what. Okay, so again, you just keep going up and through it. So you can see that Karen has done lots of work here. And she's a little bit here, copied from Wikipedia, typed in some stuff. And then Ian, lovely Ian, has added in the pictures. So that's Ian's contribution to the group task. He's added in the pictures to the presentation. To be fair, he's done a good job in making them fit onto the one page. And that is how you see who has done what. If you'll often find, or not often, sometimes you'll find a pupil says, "Miss, I've deleted everything." It's the same way you would go in. You just go to a previous version. So if I decided that was the one that they wanted to keep, you can press restore version. And it takes it back to what it was like before. And again, if they decide, no, that's not the one, you can go back and change it to the one it was before that as well. As I said, it's exactly the same in slides and in sheets and things like that. So you can always check and see who has done what. And as Ian said, if you're setting different work for different people in the group, it's easy to see who has done what in those groups. That's it for me just now. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I was going to go back on and see if anyone had any questions, or if you want to take that at the end.
So if people have got questions, pop them in the chat. I know a few people are watching and haven't been able to get on the chat, maybe because they're accessing it on a Chromebook at school, for example. And if you've logged in through Glow, then you need to kind of access YouTube in incognito mode through some kind of personal account. That would be my advice there if you've got any questions. Dr. McGregor's just saying that's fab. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And I think, making use of rubrics is a really nice tool to show people, setting particular pieces of work to particular individuals, having that granular control in classroom is fab. And then, when we are using the revision history tool, I like how we can be creative about how we use it to kind of analyze who's been doing what in terms of group work. And if we've assigned different group roles to individuals, we can kind of dial down to the specifics there and see what people have done. Stuart's just put in here that says chat seems to be a bit glitchy. I think that's right as well. I've kind of noticed with kind of number of people viewing as well, the number keeps kind of shooting up and coming back down. So there might just be some issues, but we can always pick up some more questions at the end and bring Laura back if people have got them.
Yeah.
But I'll bring in Annabel. Hello, Annabel.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Good. So I think you're going to be shouting nice and loudly at your Chromebook.
Yeah. I have to raise my voice today and use my teacher voice, I think.
Excellent. Well, good practice for now. You've got children back in the building, so that's fab. So you're going to be looking at kind of voice typing, Chromebook voice, and some kind of other top tips as well.
Yeah, I'll take you through a few things I use.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. I'll bring your screen in then whenever you're ready.
Hang on, I'll just bring my share screen up.
Colin likes seeing the rubrics, and I think absolutely right. Rubrics is super powerful, and there's lots of options there. So thanks again, Laura. Okay, Annabel, I see I have your screen. So the stage is.
Okay, so hopefully you can see me and hear me. I shall push on. Right, okay, so this is Google Docs, and I'm going to close this just now, make it nice and easy to see. So as you can see, I've got my Google Doc up, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of voice typing, which is a tool that I've taught lots of my class to use. I've got P4 5 at the moment, and I have quite a few children with literacy difficulties and a few diagnosed dyslexics, and they found this was really helpful. So you can go into Tools, which is up here, and then we have voice typing. And once you click it, you get this little microphone appears, and you just click on it to speak. And then you can type just using your voice. Full stop. So you can see it's quite accurate and quite quick. And the children really enjoy using that. It's a really accessible tool for them. So that's voice typing, and it's that simple. It's that easy. They just click on it to speak, and then they can create something really quickly, and then they can go back and edit that later. Another thing I want to show you is that if they are on a Chromebook, they can voice type, not just in docs. So docs is really good in terms of creating word-based documents, but they might want to be doing some internet searching, for instance. So if they opened a Google page and they wanted to be able to voice type into here, now you can see there's a little microphone on here, so you can search by voice, but that doesn't pop up on every page. So you can do it here. You allow your microphone. Search for dolphins. Okay, so it's brought up a little search for me there. So that was very easy. But if you're on a Chromebook and you want to be able to use other web-based things, you can see at the bottom here, I've got two little buttons. I have a dictation button and I have a select to speak button. Now those are accessibility tools that I can use, and they're switched on from here in the Chromebook. So you can see I have a little accessibility man has popped up. To get to that, you need to click on your settings, and I've opened that up here. And if you type in access, it will start to search through all the settings and it will bring up accessibility. So access, and it'll just search for me just now. There we go, accessibility features. There we go. So you can see over here it says always show accessibility options in the system menu. And if you just click that to on, then that's you good to go. And you can then see the little accessibility man pops up over here. And you've got a huge menu of different tools. The two I'm going to show you this morning are select to speak and dictation. Now, if I have children who have literacy difficulties, I get them to open up a Chromebook in their profile and put these two tools on. And once they've done that, every time they log back in with their Glow ID, it should already be switched on for them, which is really helpful. So select to speak. So if I went onto this dolphins page, and if I am a child with literacy difficulties, I'm going to find the amount of text on here could be quite overwhelming. So if I scroll down, here we go. Yeah, there's quite a lot of text there. And I'm not comfortable reading that much text myself. So I'm going to go to select to speak. And I'm going to just highlight with this nice big pink box. Sometimes needs to try again. Just bear with me. There we go.
Dolphins are highly intelligent marine mammals and are part of the family of toothed whales that includes orcas and pilot whales.
There you go. So it's reading to me, and you can change the voice that you have reading to you in your accessibility menu. That's just the default one. But if I then find that there's a part of the page that I want to go and have a look at, let's see. If there was part of the page I wanted to type into, I can then use the dictation. It allows voice typing in any text field at all. So if, for instance, I wanted to send them an email, but I don't want to type it, see if it will let me do this quickly. Should have set this bit up before. Here we go. Okay, so say I wanted to type in here. I really enjoyed your website. There we go, and it types it up really quickly for me. So that's really helpful. There's a couple of other little tools I wanted to show you this morning. So if I am looking at a website, for instance, and I find reading text on the screen difficult, I might have visual stress, or I might be dyslexic, or it may just be that I find it difficult to concentrate on text on a digital form, which a lot of people do. So if I open up this story here, I'm going to show you the Open Dyslexic font. Now, I have downloaded this from the Chrome store. So I click on it on the toolbar, and it uses the Open Dyslexic font on everything that's displayed. So I'm just going to click Enable Open Dyslexic, give it a minute to just revise the page. we go. Just let it switch over. There we go. So you can see now all of the text on the page appears in the Open Dyslexic font, which has got this weighted text at the bottom, which is much easier for people to read. And you can see it's changed pretty much everything, made it much simpler to read. So that's a really useful tool, and it's just a case of clicking it on and off from the toolbar. You can just put it on and off, and that's it. So once a child's downloaded it into their Chrome, it should then be available for them at all times. And the other one I just want to pop up very quickly, I'm not going to go into depth because I haven't used it as much as a lot of other people, but it is very handy, is the Read and Write toolbar. And I know that the Read and Write training is now up on the SLC website. So if you want to go and have a look at that more in depth, you can. But once it's downloaded, you just have it as a toolbar available on here. And oh, it doesn't want to open for me. There we go. Okay, so you can see you've got a range of tools across here. You've got a hover speech tool, so that's a bit like the tool that you have on the
I'm not sure, Annabel, if you've just frozen there. So I'll just pop you out the stream. Really great and interesting tools there from Annabel. The Open Dyslexia font is something that is available as an extension for all our SLC schools to be able to use. So it is enabled, and I think it makes a really big difference to those who are using or have dyslexia and want to be able to use technology. So I'm going to bring in Mark, our next speaker. Hi, Mark. Okay, I'm not going to bring in Mark because he's dropped out as well. So maybe there are some internet gremlins all over the place. When Mark, Annabel.
Hello.
Oh, you're back. Well, I'm kind of one in, one out. That's fine. Do you just want to start off with the Read and Write toolbar?
Yes. I was trying to open the Read and Write toolbar and then it got upset. Right. Okay. I've got my Read and Write toolbar back up. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Lovely. Okay. So I was just explaining that it's got a number of features, and it's got hover speech, which is it reads out what you highlight, which I wonder if it will let me do it now.
UK selected.
There you go.
Right, 45 minutes ago.
There you go. So you just hover
Share
over
this
things,
with Facebook.
and it will
share this
read
with
things
Messenger.
out. I'll switch off again.
Share this with Twitter.
It's going to read the
share
whole
this
page
with
to me
email.
now. I'll close it.
Share.
There we go. So you can use that as a reader. It's also got lots of different tools on it, like highlighting. So if you're reading a bunch of text and you want to just get the main messages so that you can make some notes, you've got highlighters on here. That's really useful. And you've also got take away all your highlighting, collect all your highlighting, lots of handy tools. I really like this simplify page button. So you can see that a website quite often has a lot of text and is hard to navigate, and there's a lot of buttons and different things coming up. But if you click on simplify, it just brings up the text of the story, which is much easier to focus on. And you can then
that simplify button is so powerful, especially if children could be quite easily distracted, or they need to read something in high contrast mode. I think, wow.
Yeah, it's a brilliant tool. It's really, really good. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the best things on the toolbar, actually. Yeah, so that's a couple of little handy tools that I've found very helpful. So I think that's everything I wanted to show everybody this morning.
Lovely, that's really good. So I've got a question here from Colin asking about the Open Dyslexia. Does it need to be installed by individual pupils, or can it just be downloaded to Chromebook as a standard program? So if you go to the Chrome web store, so I don't know what I've asked the question, now I'm answering it. Annabel, do you want to answer the question?
No, you carry on.
Right, okay. Yes, if you go to the Chrome web store, then you can go in there and you can download the Open Dyslexia and extension, and it should be enabled for all our pupils and staff across the authority. So that's really positive. And yes, it's free to use in terms of being able to download it onto home computers. So using your personal account when you're signed in, go to the Chrome web store. So you can just find that by going to Google. When you're in the web store, search for Open Dyslexia, and then you can download it. So it's a free extension, and it can be used both at home and in school. Some people are having some difficulty in the chat. So one of the had some questions coming in via email, which is great. One of the questions that I had come in via email was just about the Guardian email summary, and Laura had spoken about differentiating different tasks. So the Guardian email summary is personalized to that child. So if a piece of work is assigned to the child, then that piece of work will be included in the email summary. It doesn't pick up work for other children in the class. So if you've given them a differentiated success criteria, or you've given them a differentiated task to other people, it just picks up the tasks that are assigned to them. So that's great. Okay, I'm going to bring in Mark. Hello, Mark. How are you? I'm not hearing you, Mark. Is everything
fine?
okay?
I disappeared for a few minutes there. I don't know if there was an issue with the Wi-Fi in school, but
Yeah, I kind of heard you, and then you kind of stopped hearing you again.
Hear me now?
I can hear you now. That's good. I think it's a bit laggy, but
can you hear me now? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Hopefully that's the glitches over and done with.
Great. So if I bring your screen in then, and we can just leave you to kind of present through. And if you do kind of get a bit laggy, then we'll just head straight on to Karen, and then might come back to you at the end.
I think I'm having a few issues here.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm good, Ian. How are you?
Good. I should have given you some warning there, Karen. I'm about to bring you on live.
Yeah, you know how I love to multitask, Ian. Yeah.
Probably caught you doing some emails. Okay, so you're going to be looking at captions in closed captions and how that works in a couple of different G Suite products.
Yes.
And I really like closed captions. So I'll bring your screen in then, and it will all be yours.
Magic, thank you. So, yep, as Ian was saying, I have a particular interest in closed captions. My daughter, I noticed, watched things like Netflix and YouTube whilst having what I would call subtitles on. And when I would ask her, why were you doing that? Basically, her answer was, it just made it easier to follow along. And that made me think a bit more deeply about how accessible what I did with students in my classroom was, and also when I'm presenting to adults too. So was really interested to see when Google developed this for their Google Slides and Google Meet, and how we could make better use of it. So let me just show you what that actually looks like. So we'll go into a slide first. So if you're in your Google Slides and you want to present, you go to View. Now you might see a wee bit of a lag here just while it's loading. So you go to View and Present. And once it loads the first slide, you'll notice that you have a floating toolbar down in the bottom of your screen. Let's just let it load. And on that toolbar, you'll see the initials CC for closed captions. And if you click on that, you'll then notice that it turns yellow to show you that it's activated. So obviously it's just probably taking a wee bit of time to get onto your screen, but it will appear eventually. And something to note just while that's loading is that it will be enabled, obviously, as soon as you click on it, but you do have some options to change it too. Okay, so still not seeing it load. Let's just keep going.
I think, Karen, okay. People are having worldwide internet issues right now. So
such is life, isn't it?
Do bear with us. I guess this is the nature of doing things one live and then trying to do things from a number of locations. But it looks like it's loaded.
Yep. So we're on now. Okay. So you can see the CC closed captions. So when you click on that, as I said, it will turn yellow. And now what you should see when I am speaking at the top of the screen, you'll see what I'm saying being typed along at the top. And as I move through onto different slides, that commentary will just continue. Now, Obviously, it's not going to be 100% accurate. It's powered by machine learning, so it's something that's going to improve with time. But something that's really good for those of us with thick Scottish accents, it does seem to cope fairly well with that too. So I can see this being something that will just continue to improve as time goes on. But as I was saying to you there when we were just waiting for the screen to load, if you didn't want the captions to be at the top of the slides, then you can change that. So you can click on the floating toolbar again and go to the options for top and select to move them to the bottom. And you can also change how large or small the text is as well. And again, that's just really going to be dependent on how you're streaming your slides, how you're showing them. You know, if it's on a large screen, you might want it quite large. But bearing in mind, students can use this as well, so they might want to keep it quite small to show more text on each slide. And that's as simple as it is, and that is enabled on Google Slides. So let's have a wee look now at how that works on Google Meet. So if I just jump into this Meet, and hopefully Ian will be able to tell me if that's showing on your screen okay.
Yes, it is. That's looking
so down here, you'll see that there's the option for turning on captions. And if you don't see it there is the More button, and you can go in there and hopefully see it there instead. So if I click on captions here, again, as I start to speak, you will see the text appearing. Now, unfortunately, with Google Slides, you can move this around, but unfortunately with Google Meet, certainly at the moment, that isn't an option. So it just appears at the bottom. So you don't really have all those different options for changing the settings just now in Google Meet. What you do get in Google Meet that you don't get in Google Slides, though, is punctuation, which is quite interesting. That the different settings appear in each of them, but as time goes on, I'm sure that will get developed. So really, it's as simple as that to enable them. And what I would say is it's something that I think is an incredibly useful tool. I'll stop there. So incredibly useful, and something that I think for users who perhaps have a hearing impairment, that's something that they're obviously going to find useful to have, but also for those people who, for them, English is not their first language, and people like my daughter who just find it easier to follow along with the text on the screen while they're watching something. And something that Ian mentioned at the beginning was that if you're in an environment where you can't really have the volume up, then again, that's something that you might find is useful to have.
I think, Karen, what was really lovely in your demonstration there with Google Meet, obviously you were just in a meet with yourself. If you were in with somebody else, then it highlights the other person in terms of with their profile. Yeah. So you can see, you know, if you've got multiple people talking, it's really good at handling, you know, two people speaking at the same time. It will still write what both people have said, even though, you know, to us, you know, kind of hearing, we might have a bit of kind of difficulty to bring things said. So, you know, the voice recognition, you know, Google use the technology across all their products. So the more people use it, the better it gets in terms of accuracy. Yeah. I think the punctuation is absolutely fantastic. And I also think, you know, the skill that people use in terms of either voice typing or using closed captions, I think it really helps with literacy. But because the tools are also across a number of consumer products, so for instance, being able to voice type your text messages, or, you know, you're watching videos on YouTube and being able to get closed captions or subtitles up that way, you know, it's developing a skill for life, because, you know, technology that they are using will have those things. Yeah.
And I think something worth noting as well is that there's going to be future developments in this. So obviously at the moment, there's not the option for this to translate live, but you could absolutely see where that could go in the future and the power of that. And also things like some improvements in some of the settings in Slides and in Meet as well. But yeah, just to kind of finish up by saying, please, even if you don't feel this is something that you want to use as a presenter, then make sure it's something you share with your learners, because it is something they can enable for themselves if they want to use it. And it just gives them that option to use that accessibility tool that's there.
Well, I always think if you're presenting somewhere and there's a microphone, you should always make use of the microphone instead of standing at the front saying, "Can everyone hear me?" Because the person who can't hear you won't have heard the question. So if there's that ability to be able to amplify what you're saying through closed captions or amplify what you're saying through a closed microphone, then people should absolutely take that opportunity, because then accessibility is part of our practice. It isn't an extension of our practice. So unfortunately, not managed to quite get Mark back yet from Newton Farm Primary. Maybe we're relaying an internet cable to him now. So hopefully we will get him back. But we're going to bring Richie, and I'm really excited about Richie's session here with Google Forms. Hello, Richie. How are you? You're muted, so you'll need to unmute yourself.
Didn't want to interrupt. I'm good. How are you getting on?
Yeah, really good, really good. I was just saying, Google Forms. I'm really excited for the Google Forms, particularly kind of the branching forms and how the questions can evolve depending on what answers children give. So I'll bring your screen in now, and the stage is all yours. Thank you very much.
Cheers. So hopefully, assuming people come in might have a rough idea of how forms work and the idea of sort of setting quizzes and tests that can be electronically marked. So hopefully you're familiar with the basics. I'm not going to go through those today. There's a number of features that will allow you to add extra help for those kids that are needing a bit of a leg up, or sometimes kids that are needing a bit more of a push that might need extension work. So just some tips that we're going to work through for those today. So I've got a form set up here on capitals. And the first thing I want to look at is extra feedback. Any of you that have been using quizzes, I'll know it's great that they can see at the end, once they've submitted or when you send it back to them, what the right answer was and what the wrong answer was. But the problem is, if you were in class, you would hopefully be explaining to the pupil what was right and why it was right and why it was wrong. So there's a nice wee feature that you can add in when you're setting up your quiz, is to add some feedback. So we're going with capitals here. We went with capital City of Estonia. And you click on Add Answer Feedback at the bottom there. So for correct answers, you could put in whatever you like, a yay or a woohoo. For incorrect answers, then you could put more detail here, such as, let's see. Alan is the capital. Very basic stuff just now. Obviously, for more complex questions, you might have something else to say. So that's the basic idea. You can separate it for incorrect and correct answers, and they'll see that when that comes through. We'll see that later. But we can see right here, this will get to get the right or the wrong. What is the state capital of New England? So I want to do something a wee bit more in depth with the feedback here. So if we go into answer key, I will remove that. I must have had that in already. So add answer feedback here, and you can see at the bottom there, there's a wee chain link button and the video button there for YouTube. So in theory, we could put in a little YouTube video. One of my favorites here, if I could spell the word capitals. And you can just insert these straight from YouTube. And this is definitely the easiest and best way to learn US state capitals. So, and you can leave a little comment there, and even for correct answers, you could put the same video in there, but say, there you can learn some more, and we save that in there. Okay, so straight there for them. As soon as they submit, if they've got the wrong answer or potentially the right answer, there's information there for them. If you had a question a little bit like this, so give a reason why a particular city might be chosen rather than others for a capital city. Now your feedback there can't be a right and wrong answer, because it's clearly something more detailed than that. So what I would use for this is the link button here. So you can link to all sorts of things. You could link to your own website with answers, or to a YouTube video, or to a page from a book, all sorts of options. What I'll choose here is a nice wee article on the BBC. We'll just insert that back in. Really choose capitals. So interesting. Let's choose capitals, I suppose. Okay, important. I got into bad habit of clicking save. That won't work. You need to press add first. So that only is there for them, and then click save. Okay, so that just gives us our feedback. We're done. I'll give you a quick preview of what that would look like for a pupil. And so if we go with the capital certificate stone here as Riga, main, and blah, 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 blah. Then submit. When they see their answers, so they'll get feedback there, just hammering home the fact it's Talon, more feedback there with the video, and then a link there for them to look at. So obviously the options are endless for you there if you want to put that detail in for pupils. Okay. Another aspect which I think is key to how great Forms is, because I'm totally sold on it, as a lot of you will know, is that you can reassess and retest pupils, and you get so much information that allows you to see what you should be retesting. If I look at, so this is a recent test that I've done, if I look at the summary here, when you click on responses, you get so much information. So the average for the class, an important point down here is the frequently missed questions. So if a lot of pupils were getting the same questions wrong, you might want to retest them on those. I'm just going to skip past these names very quickly. And we'll see here. So frequently missed questions, back past those. And obviously you can go through question by question. That question wasn't done well, maybe we need to try that again. Generally, I've got 7 out of 5 doing well, and they've done well with most of these. But what I would do is take that quiz and then over here, make a copy, and we'll call it a retest. Okay, that creates a brand new form. It's the same as before, but there's no point retesting your pupils on the stuff that they've already done well at. So you could go through and for this one, so this won't alter your previous test at all. We've created a brand new one here, and that's why there's no responses at the top. Things are moving slowly, which is good. Give me a chance to catch my breath, hopefully. But I'm sure you get the idea. You could go through and delete these easier questions. I mean, there were 20 questions in here, maybe get it down to a solid 10. And as we saw earlier, you wouldn't have to send this back out to all pupils. If pupils were getting 20 out of 20 or doing generally well, you wouldn't have to send that back out. But you could send 10 questions, the trickier ones, back out to pupils to retest. You would hopefully have had a conversation with them first in one way or another about how to improve before they reattempted that quiz. So it's that sort of idea I think of as if we had an end of unit test or a test that we wanted pupils to do. It's pretty bad sometimes. We'll have kids who do very badly, and then we just say, well, that was your test. We move on to the next topic. I'm sure none of us teach like that, but it gives you the option to retest and retest and retest. Part of that as well, if you had maybe not an assignment as such, but a quiz that you were wanting people to do and keep doing until they got it correct and got 100%, because that's what we're gunning for. If you click off this limit to 1 response in your quiz, again, I wouldn't do this for assignments, then it means they can just go through and try again. And for a lot of pupils, that'll help them. They can do it at their own pace. Where I've done this, it's been quite successful, is on our website. On the higher website, we've got questions at the bottom of the page. Clinical trials, interesting area just now. and they can test their knowledge. There's questions there for them to attempt, fairly basic ones, but I would expect my higher pupils to go through and keep trying those until they were absolutely correct. A big part of that, if you're going to do the retest thing, is this option down here, shuffle the option order. For some kids, if they do a test enough times, they'll memorise the marking scheme rather than memorising the answers. So shuffling the option order will mean they don't get these in the same order each time. Likewise, depending on the way you've got your form set up, you can shuffle the question order as well so that they see them in a different order each time. It's really checking that their knowledge is there. Right, I'm going to move on rather quickly to this idea of branching that Ian was talking about. Now, this is brilliant. It has so much potential. But essentially, it means people can have different options, or pupils can have different options depending upon what they click. So I've taken the example, we've been doing membrane transport with our National 5s just now, and they could choose how confident they were feeling, not at all confident, quite confident, very confident, and that would take them down a different path as such. So if they chose not at all confident, then they could go on to some multiple choice questions, generally a wee bit easier. If they chose fairly confident, we've got short answer membrane transport questions. And if they chose that they were very confident, we could give them some essay style questions that are a lot more challenging for them. How we do that, so you can see I've already got sections set up for this. So there's 3 extra sections we created. We do that by clicking this add section button. After that first question, that allows you to fire in a few sections, give them titles. But we haven't, purposefully, I haven't set up so that it sends them on that path yet. So I wanted to show you how that works. So you click on the 3 dots down at the bottom here of the question and go to section based on answer. So if they're not at all confident, you would click multiple choice. If they're quite confident, short answer. If they're very confident, then essay style. Okay, that means that in theory, let's give it a shot. Oh, one more thing I should say. I set my quizzes so that they automatically have the required button clicked. You need to make sure that's clicked on, or else this won't work. But let's have a wee look at what that would look like for the pupil. So if they say they're not at all confident, then there's our multiple choice. Let's say they didn't do that. They went for quite confident. Then they could go into short answers there. Obviously, at the end, once they've done the easier ones, the multiple choice, there's nothing stopping you to send them back to that original question so that they could then try the trickier ones and move on until they're finished. So it just, I mean, as far as differentiation in a single class using forms, absolutely fantastic. And lots of potential. There is a couple more examples. Hopefully I've got time to just quickly show you, just to try and give you ideas of what you could do. If it's pupil choice, they could choose at the start what area they were going to go over. So we do problem solving at higher in that 5. They could decide what areas they wanted to focus on. So again, that's that idea of pupil choice and deciding what they're doing. Or something I really like is this idea of it sending them a different path depending upon whether they got the answer correct or not. So I've set up a form here that allows them to do that. I'll show you rather than running through how it all works just now. So let's see my maths here. 10 potatoes out of 40 grown are inedible. What percentage are inedible? That's 25, isn't it? Hopefully, yay. So that would just take me on to the next question, which these are percentage change, which are a bit more difficult. But if we go back to that first question, if the pupil had said 50%, we click in next, and it's the incorrect answer. You would maybe want to put something at the top there to say, sorry, that's not right, try this out. So you could then have a whole extra section that had a video or an explanation of how to do better in that area. And then they try the question again and maybe a few more examples until they're happy with it. And if you've got your sections all set up correctly, once they're finished, and I'm just going to click these, and I've set it up so they need to get this last one right to keep moving on. So 30 potatoes out of the 40 grown are inedible. What percentage of potatoes are inedible? 75, hopefully. And that will send them to a percentage change question. So they're back on track. 40 potatoes increased to 60 potatoes. What's the percentage change? That's 50. I'm sorry if any of the sums are wrong on this. And if that's correct, that's going to send them to some much more difficult percentage change questions. And that would take them to the end. But let's say they didn't get that right. Same idea. Could send them down a slightly different path. Here's how you carry out percentage change. Here's some percentage change questions for you to try. And then they would head on to the more difficult questions. So I'm sure hopefully all of you are thinking how this would work in your own subject. I should say it's not graded. I wouldn't set this as an assignment where you're wanting marks because you won't get a mark back that makes sense. And the very last thing I just wanted to let you know about is if you start that type of one I showed you there, have a plan before you begin. Lay it out, scribble it down so you know which section you want everything to go to next, because it can get complicated quite quickly. But if you have a plan before you start, that should help. Okay.
I really love the idea of having a plan, Richie. That's fantastic. I love branching forms, and I think the power there in terms of being able to differentiate is absolutely huge. We just had a couple of questions come in, and I've kind of picked them up in the chat. So Kieran here said, can you link to a Google Doc in feedback? Yeah, absolutely. You can link to anything. Just check those sharing settings. Sean has said here about audio clips. So I've said, you can extract the audio from a YouTube from a video clip and stick that on YouTube. Screencastify allows you to do that. So if you haven't got the Screencastify extension, it's available to all teachers across South Lanarkshire. So go and have a look at that. And Dr. McGregor here has just asked, will we be able to share the forms? So if people want a copy of the forms, we'll have a feedback form available at the end. Stick your contact details in that feedback form, which is hopefully on this bit.ly stream 1706. And I'll be able to kind of get a copy of the form out to people if you'd like it. So if you want a copy of the resources, stick it there. But Richie, what a fab session. I was going to have a go bringing Mark Allen back in for his session, but I've just noticed that he has dropped out again. So I'll bring in all the other speakers that we have had today. So Karen, Laura, and Annabel. Thank you everyone for coming. I feel like I've lost someone. Oh, here's Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hello. I got thrown out again. I don't think I'm working today.
No.
Or Wi-Fi doesn't like me today, I don't think.
And I can't see Annabel on the screen either. So she is there though when I press the button. I'm just getting a black box though. So feedback is obviously super important for us. So if you want some resources from Richie, hey Annabel, yay, we've got all 6 of us. That's fantastic. Then fill in that feedback form because that will help inform us. If you only take one tool away from today's session and you make one change to your practice to make it more accessible or to differentiate in a different way when you are approaching and then doing some blended learning in August, then we'll be absolutely delighted about that. I guess quick final thought, Richie, any final thought?
No.
Something I forgot to say was if you are going to be recording your meets, the captions are not captured in the recordings. So that was something I meant to say.
Oh, okay. But the chat is recorded.
The chat is.
The chat is recorded. Annabel, final thought.
Just that the tools are really easy to use for the kids as well. So it's great to just put it in their hands and just let them see what they can do. So it's been really powerful, I think.
Great. Mark, I'm really sorry we didn't get your session, but
That's okay.
I'm not sure it's going to work.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, my final thought would be what I was going to demonstrate was all the sort of additional settings in the accessibility menu. All you have to do is just go and have a play about with them. It's very, very simple. Very simple tools, but very useful tools. And you just play about with it and you'll pick it up very, very easy.
Okay. So
I have a final thought one.
Well, okay, so I'll just say about Mark. You can get Mark on Twitter at Mr. Digital ICT. So there will maybe some accessibility tips there for people who want to be able to gather on Twitter. Richie's final thoughts.
It was just anybody that's listening I've only very recently found out about these branching questions and I'm dead excited about using them. So the stuff that I was showing you today is if it looked complex, it's actually very easy to set up. So I'm pretty much a novice with it and getting there very quickly.
I also shared in the chat your previous session on forms, and if you follow that link, it will take you to Richie's bit straight away. So you'll be able to dive in because that was a great session there. And if you have a little hunt on the channel, there's another slightly more in-depth guide from Mr. Crichton about forms as well. Laura, kind of final thought? I think you might be muted or we can't hear you.
I am muted. Not anymore. I was just going to say it's very similar to what Mark was saying. Everything is so intuitive and you just need to go and play about. It's so straightforward that sometimes when I'm telling people about things, I think this is so easy. Obviously, everyone knows. And it's just by going and using the tools that you see what's there and what's available.
And I think that's so key, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know. So until you kind of give it a go and have a bash, and you can't break anything, but full revision.
The kids will tell you what works and what doesn't. They're very good at saying, that's not working.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much to everyone, and thank you to Mark, who has who's coming and going, but he's back now for our time. Thank you so much for giving it the time. It's really nice. I hope these tools prove to be useful, and I wish everyone well, and also probably have a good summer break as well. So thank you and bye-bye.